Hello, everybody, and welcome or welcome back to the second shelf and to, won't believe it, a tag video. I don't know how long it has been since I've done a tag. I'm really bad at tags. I can't fit them in my regular filming schedule. I only upload twice a week, and I have these regular things that I have to want to talk about. And in most months, I just can't fit a tag in. So yeah, but now I have time and I forgot who tagged me, of course, but this tag was originally created by Emily, not Shelley, but Emily from Novel Novels. I will leave a link to her original tag down below. And I was reminded of the tag because I saw it on Steve's channel. I will leave a link to that also. And I tried to find out who tagged me, but I couldn't find it. So if you tag me, let me know. And I'm sorry for all the other tags that people have tagged me in and that I never do because I just don't get around to it. But anyway, this is the How Do We Rate Books tag. And it's all about the rating system according to Goodreads. So it's a maximum of 5-star and a minimum of 1-star ratings and questions about what is a 1-star book, what is a 2-star book. And I thought that is really interesting because I use Goodreads for my own bookkeeping, so to speak, so that I know which books I read and how do I rate them. And it's not that I have a too profound connection with Goodreads or the rating system, but I find it helpful to keep the books for me. So the first question is, obviously there's no 0-star rating in Goodreads. So the first question is, do you DNF? Why and how often? To be precise, how often do you DNF and what makes you DNF? I do DNF, but not that often. I've just checked before filming this video this year, and it's now mid-August. I have bailed on 3 books. But I have to say, I don't count. I think I said that in a video recently. I don't count DNFs when I think, oh, this book might be something for me, and then I download a Kindle sample and I read the sample and decide, no, it's not for me, this book. That's not a DNF. For me, a DNF is really, I am committed to reading the book and then I bail. I don't finish it. It's also not a DNF if I'm committed to reading a book and I start reading it and I'm thinking, yeah, I want to read this book, but not now. So these two, the Kindle sample, test and I want to read it, but not now, that's not DNFs. So the reason for DNF can be really various. Mostly I DNF if I'm bored. If I'm really think this is dragging on, I'm not interested to finding out what happens because I'm a very plot-oriented reader, and if I don't want to find out what happens, that means I should DNF the book. So that's the main reason that I'm really bored and I don't care. Number 2, do you rate books 1 star? Yes, I do. I have brought a couple of sample books to illustrate. I rate a book 1 star if I think it really sucks. For me, personally. Does not necessarily mean it is a very bad book, but mostly it does. So, for instance, I gave 1 star to this highly praised Japanese crime book by Natsuo Kirino, Out, translated from the Japanese by Stephen Snyder, and published in 1997, the original. This was supposed to be, centering around a group of females who, and one committed a murder and the other people help. And it was interesting, but it was just irking the bloody hell out of me. It was so sexist and misogynistic, and women, enjoying rape and falling in love with the rapist in the middle of the rape. And no, No, I didn't DNF it because I enjoy a good hate read now and again, and I wanted to rate it. And I'm not giving star ratings, not even a 1 star when I DNF a book. A DNF is a DNF, and then I don't rate it. So this was definitely a 1 star book. Next question: what is a 2-star book for you? A 2-star book is for me a book that doesn't anger me or anything, or I think is really horrible and should be ranted about, but has serious flaws. Goodreads says it's okay, but for me it's a book that I did not enjoy because I feel it has serious flaws. One of the books that I rated 2 stars is a very beloved book by Maggie O'Farrell, The Marriage Portrait. I have to go a little, which was I think shortlisted even for the Booker, the Women's Prize, published a couple of years ago, about it's historical fiction set in Italy during the Renaissance, 16th century, mid-16th century. A young woman who actually lived, Lucrezia de Medici, and she was married when she was 15 to Alfonso, the Duke of Ferrara, who was not a pleasant man, 10, 15 years older, and a year after the marriage, she was dead. And it was rumored in real life that he murdered her. And Maggie O'Farrell takes this historical fact and then weaves her own story of this woman, Lucretia. And I had real issues with the book. I felt it was looking at a female in the 16th century with modern eyes, making her a modern character, which did not work for me. So the fact that she is struggling with her not being able to pursue her individual goals just doesn't make sense to me. In a person in that time wouldn't think like that. I mean, the whole thing of being, individualistic is a modern invention after Enlightenment. That did not fit. That was just not a thing in the 16th century. And I didn't like the plot. I thought, I'm not going to tell you because that will spoil you, but let's just say the male savior trope is something that I'm really not enjoying. So that was a 2-star book. I can see there is craft. It's not 1 star because there are things done in a okay way, but I just did not enjoy it at all. Then we move on to the 3-star. Whether is a 3-star book a good book for you? Yes. A 3-star book is a good book. It's a decent book. It's a solid book, in terms of, a good solid 7.5. Beautiful Girls film, movie, quote. Never mind. Not important. So it's a solid, 7.5. A good book, but not great. I'm not blown away. I liked it, but it's a bit, I mean, I have something here. I'm sorry. It's probably the rating I give the most, because most books fall in this category. They're not bad books, but they're not that really good. So, for instance, a very quite recent book I read is this, Blaming, by Elizabeth Taylor. It's a story about a young or a woman. Elizabeth Taylor, by the way, was born in Berkshire in 1912, and she died in 1975. And this book is about a woman who is on holiday with her husband, Amy, and then tragedy strikes, and there is a relationship between a young woman, an American woman that she meets there, Martha, a young American novelist, and then plot ensues from this relationship between Amy and this much younger woman. And it's not a sexual relationship, it's a friendship. And I thought there were things in there that were good, and it's I think it was a debut novel, so I'm more lenient. I enjoyed reading most of it, but it was not, anything special or to write home about. So it's a 3-star. It's a decent book, good book, but nothing particularly fantastic or out of the ordinary good. A 4-star book. A 4-star book for me is a really good book. We come to the 5 stars in a minute, which the difference between those two, but it's a book that I would rave about, that I think is really good, that I enjoyed, and I picked The Shadow King by Mahsa Mengiste as a 4-star book, set in during the war, Mussolini's war in Africa. She's from Ethiopia, and the book is set mostly in Ethiopia when Mussolini's army invades the country, and then you have these focusing on female the female fates, female soldiers, but also on a photographer who comes with the Italian army, so what we now would call embedded. And it's historical fiction, but with a twist, with not fantasy, but with a almost magical realism, which normally is not my thing. But I thought it was just such a fantastic read, the way the story was told, that it was a 4-star read. And like I said, most books, if you look at my rating, it's always, every year it's around 3.5, my average rating at the end of the year. So 3 stars is really the rating that I give most, and 4-star is already pretty up there, pretty high. I'm not giving 4 stars, to books that I feel, or sometimes I watch videos and people say it was really not good, and then they give it 3 stars or 4 stars. I don't understand that. So 4 stars is a really, really good book for me. And then before we come to the 5-star is the half star. Do you give half stars? Yes. I think Goodreads is an abomination that you're not allowed to give half stars. So you can only give full stars. So I do in the description thing where you can write a review, I would always write, if it's not a full star, for instance, if I give the book 3 stars, but it's a 3.5, I would write that down. So to keep, again, it's just for my own bookkeeping, to keep track. And then for the Goodreads purpose, because you only give full star, I would think whether I'd rather want to round it up or round it down. No, the other way around. Round it up or round it down. So if I feel it's not really a 4-star book, but 3 stars is just too meager, I would write 3.5 and then round it up. And then we come, of course, to the 5-star. Do you rate books 5 stars? Often, question number 7, what do 5-star books, what do 5 stars books do to make them rate that high? So a 5-star book, for instance, is this one, Carol Shields' The Stone Diaries, about the life of a woman from birth to death. Carol Shields is one of my favorite authors. She is Canadian. I'm just trying to find out when this book was published. 1994. So this was a 5-star book for me. And 5 stars for me means, whoa, exceptional for me. It hits me in a certain way, or I find the writing, Edith Wharton's, when I first read Age of Innocence, the language just blew me away, and it was a 5-star read. This one, because the way the story is told about this woman, because it really engaged me in a deep and profound way. A book, if you want to, go woo-woo, a book that changes you in a way, that is a profound experience for me as a reader. It does not necessarily mean that this book objectively is that much better than this book. But here it's good, and it really, really enjoyed it, and I think it's a fantastic book, but there is still kind of a distance between me and the book, and 5-star books just hit me like with a fist, in a good way. It can also be very sad. It doesn't have to be cheering me up or anything, but it really affects me, or that I feel it's so out of the ordinary, beautiful or inventive, or the plot is just so good that it's a 5-star read. And that also means I'm very stingy with my 5-star reads. I think this year, up to August, I would have to check, but maybe 3 or 4 books that I rate 5 stars. I give 4.5 stars quite often, and then in Goodreads terms, it's still only 4. But to rate, I'm still scrolling, trying to find whether I can find how many 5-star books I gave, but I can't really find it. So here we have it. Sorry about that. And then Goodreads takes a while. 2 so far. 2 books so far, and both nonfiction, by the way. I rate nonfiction in the same way, extraordinary, inventive, really hitting me for some reason. So I'm very stingy. That means I haven't rated a novel 5 stars this year. And I had a good reading year. Please keep in mind, 4 stars is for me a really, really good book. Number 8, has your rating of books changed over the years? Yes. I started rating books never rated books in my life before I started BookTube. And then at the same time, or a little before that, I started Goodreads. And then just to keep track. And in the beginning, my rating was lower than it is now, because I felt 3 stars is just a very good book. And then, I had to find my own way with this star rating. And it can happen also that I reread a book or think about the book and change the rating afterwards, but that doesn't happen that often. It's maybe a handful of books that it happens, because the rating for me is not like, giving the Oscar or something. It's for me more an administration thing, like I'd call it bookkeeping thing. And the last question is number 9. Where do you record your ratings? And I told you that already. I do that in Goodreads. That's the only place where I use their ratings. I keep my own book, where I write down what I read, and I just record that rating also there. So I use the Goodreads system, because you could have 10 stars, you could have whatever, but I use that Goodreads system, and that's where I record it. Those were the questions. I'm not going to tag anybody because this tag has been going around. But if you haven't done it, and if you make content and rate books, please consider yourself tagged and maybe do a video about how you rate books, because I think it's so interesting. People have various and quite different systems of rating books, and I love hearing from other readers how they rate books. Anyway, this was the How Do We Rate Books tag. Thank you for whoever tagged me. Thank you for watching it. Looking forward to your comments. Just keeping under 20 minutes, and I will talk to you all soon in the next one.